By the time Friday afternoon arrived, I could already feel the weekend slipping away. Not because I had plans, nothing glamorous, but because I knew how this usually went. Around 6, maybe 6:30, my phone would buzz. A text that wasn't really a question. I'm on my way. Or sometimes nothing at all. Just headlights in the driveway and the sound of my doorbell being pressed like it was part of a routine. The first few weekends, I told myself it was temporary. She was overwhelmed. She needed help. That's what sisters do. By the fourth weekend, I started noticing how the help never came back around. No checking in. No asking if I was okay with it. Just the quiet assumption that my time was available because hers mattered more. When she showed up the fifth time, I didn't open the door right away. I stood in the hallway and listened to the kids talking through the wood, their voices excited and restless. I like my nieces. That was the problem. Liking them made it easier for her to keep doing this. When I opened the door, she was already halfway back to her car, keys in hand. "I can't this weekend," I said. My voice sounded steadier than I felt. "I need you to take them with you." She froze like I'd spoken a different language. "What do you mean, you can't?" "I mean I'm not your built-in babysitter," I said. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't list grievances. I just said the thing I'd been avoiding. Her face changed fast. Shock first, then offense, then something sharper. "So now they're a burden," she said, loud enough for the kids to hear. "That's not what I said." She laughed, short and bitter. "Unbelievable. After everything I do, this is how you repay me." "For what?" I asked, before I could stop myself. That's when it tipped. Her voice climbed. She talked over me. Old stories came out, warped into proof that I'd always been selfish. I watched it happen like a familiar storm, how quickly she could turn discomfort into accusation. She pulled out her phone. "Fine. I'll call Mom and Dad. Let them hear this." I didn't stop her. Part of me wanted to, but the part trained to smooth things over. But another part was tired. So tired. She left with the kids, tires crunching too loudly against the gravel. The silence afterward felt wrong, like the house was holding its breath. The call from my parents came 10 minutes later. Then, another. I didn't answer. I already knew how that conversation would go. How I'd be told I was making things harder. How family helps family. How she's under so much stress. My stress never seemed to make the list. I made dinner I didn't really want and sat at the table, waiting for the guilt to finish blooming. Instead, an hour later, there was a knock. Not the doorbell, a knock. Firm. Official. When I opened the door, 2 police officers stood on my porch. Calm, neutral. One of them asked my name. The other looked past me into the house, like he was checking for something missing. "We received a call," the first officer said, "about a possible child abandonment situation." The words landed slowly. Child abandonment. My stomach dropped, but my mind felt oddly clear. "I didn't abandon any children," I said. "They aren't here?" They asked me to explain. I did. I told them at the weekends. About saying no. About her leaving with the kids. I didn't editorialize. I didn't defend my character. I just laid out the sequence of events. They listened. Took notes. Asked for times. Names. One of them nodded. "So you declined childcare, and the children remained with their parent?" "Yes." "That's all we needed to confirm," he said. They didn't apologize. They didn't scold me. They simply explained that making false or exaggerated reports could have consequences, and that boundaries around childcare were a civil matter unless a child was actually endangered. It took less than 10 minutes. When they left, the porch light clicked off, and the street went quiet again. I sat down on the couch and noticed my hands were shaking, not from fear, exactly, but from the delayed release of something I'd been holding in for a long time. My sister didn't call that night. My parents did. Once. I let it go to voicemail. My mother's message was tight, confused, embarrassed. She said we'd talk later. We did eventually. The talking was messy and unsatisfying. No one apologized the way movies teach you to expect. My sister insisted she was just scared and overreacted. My parents focused on how serious was that the police had been involved, as if that happened to all of us equally. But something had shifted. The weekend stayed quiet. Too quiet at first, then normal. No drop-offs, no assumptions. When my sister needed help later, she asked. Sometimes I said yes, sometimes I didn't. The difference was that my answer finally counted. The cost showed up in smaller ways. Family dinners felt stiffer. My sister and I didn't joke the way we used to. I could feel a thin layer of caution where familiarity used to live. But I also slept better. I didn't win anything. There was no moment where everyone admitted I'd been right. What I gained was simpler and heavier than that, the knowledge that when I said no, the world didn't collapse, and neither did I. The door stayed closed when I needed it to. And that turned out to be enough.